Hello and welcome to Finextra TV. I'm Hannah Wallace and we're speaking in the lead up to Singapore Fintech Festival. With me now on the line is Pat Patel for Elevandi. So Pat, it's great to be speaking with you again. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's been a while, so it's good to be back on Finextra TV.
Really good to have you on, and it's really exciting to be speaking to you in the lead up to Singapore Fintech Festival. So I want to hear all about it. We haven't got much time, but let's sink our teeth in. And I want to begin by talking about the theme of the event, the intersection of policy, finance, and technology. So talk us through the theme and also the thinking behind it.
Yeah, no, it's a very good question. And if you think about it, there are thousands of fintech events around the world. I used to run quite a few of them a few years ago. And I think with the festival, it's very different in what we're going for. And where it's different is largely because of the policymakers and regulators that come into the dialogue. And so that kind of intersection, nexus, the consequential questions that are kind of part of this dialogue is all at that kind of in between state between policymakers and regulators, the financial services leaders and technologists, because when you bring those three communities together, you have a chance to really change and impact financial services. And that's why I think the FinTech Festival is very different than any other activity in the world. And so there is a lot of conversations that really need to happen. If you think about the state that financial services currently is, it's a state of flux. You know, it's been reeling since some of the high profile incidents of the end of last year and early this year. And so there is a lot of conversations that are required and more of an alignment between these three groups. And a lot of it's around re-architecting the financial services system. A lot of it's around the risks that we're seeing, because there are technological risks, there are economical risks, there's also geopolitical risks. And then there's elements around how do we support talent? How do we support the next wave of entrepreneurship that has really suffered during and since COVID? And then when we start to kind of think about the big picture also for this year, it's been around AI. And the question is, you know, everyone's talking about it, but is AI for good? You know, there is a lot of division at the moment. And what we believe in all of these kind of four areas that I've mentioned, you need a dialogue between policymakers and regulators, a dialogue with the financial services leaders, and importantly, the technologists who are building products and services in the marketplace.
And the agenda is really going to help bring those conversations out of the fold, aren't they? So I'm interested to hear what you're most excited about the agenda. There's so much juicy content, but what are you most excited about?
So there's 1,000 speakers, which is absolutely insane when you think about it, across 4 days. And so I think some of the headlines, if you think about it, it's quite rare for a fintech event to have someone like the IMF president, world managing director, even the World Bank president. So Ajay is going to be there as well, and then a whole raft of kind of governors, technologists, fintech founders, a number of bank CEOs such as Bill Winters will be there as well. And so these are kind of, you know, what they've got to say about those four topic areas that I mentioned is going to be very, very interesting. We also have a number of kind of special programs going on. So we have something called the Founders Peak, where founders get to share their stories. In particular, so they can't pitch on this stage. It's all about the pivotal moments that shaped their entrepreneurial journey. So it's a really interesting kind of talk that they give in a TED type setting. We also have a TV show, which might be interesting, certainly for yourself. So we're launching a TV show at the festival. It's kind of like a Dragon's Den kind of Shark Tank format. It will be for the whole of the region, so Southeast Asia. And we're in partnership with Media Corp on this. So that's going to be something very interesting. It also takes the festival and Elevandi to the next level, because we then have a reach across 90 million people across not just Southeast Asia, but most of Asia. So that's going to be something that's going to shine a spotlight on entrepreneurship. But I think there's a series of roundtables that we're running the day before the festival starts. And that's where a lot of the substance comes out, because that's where you have those public-private sector dialogues. So we'll be talking about how do we go forward with generative AI? Should it be regulated? How should the industry be building products there? Also stable coins, CBDCs. But you know, clearly there is a lot of question marks around sustainability, and particularly the E side of ESG. So we'll be talking about these. We'll be producing a series of white papers as well. And that will hopefully shape some of the thinking around policy roadmaps, but also how the industry should be thinking about building new products and services that leverage technology. So there's a whole bundle of content, some great speakers, and it really is going to be a global event.
For such a big and interesting agenda, you did a good job to summarise the important bits there. And like you say, some amazing speakers, which we're also getting a chance to talk to in the lead up to the event, where we're going to be touching on some of those topics you mentioned. And now, look, another thing I wanted to touch on with you today is the new zones. For those that aren't aware of them, what are they and what do they mean to the delegates during the event as well?
Yeah, so last year we received a lot of feedback that the event had got too big. And some people were saying it's like your first day at school. How do you navigate this huge kind of it's like six giant sized halls basically. And so we decided to kind of curate an experience. And so those that are interested in technology could come across to the tech zone where there'll be a lounge there, there'll be a stage, there'll be a lot of companies that are anchored around digital assets or AI or even kind of cloud technologies. We've even got a few that have like a combination of technologies that they're kind of talking about. So that's kind of a great place if you're a techie. Then we have a founders zone. So we have our founders peak stage. We have an investor office hours there. So a lot of startups can get some airtime with VCs. We also have an ESG zone. So if you're kind of green minded, you can kind of come along there and get to check out some of the latest trends, but also how are we moving forward with solving some of the world's challenges with the E and the S side of ESG. We have a regulator zone, so there are over 50 to 60 different regulatory jurisdictions participating there. So you can get advice and guidance on how different countries are approaching fintech regulation. We also have a talent zone. So if you're interested in learning or upskilling, reskilling, even just kind of having some mentoring sessions around your future career development, that's a perfect place to be. And then the last area is more of an international area where we have pavilions from, I think, around 35 different countries. So you can kind of have conversations with different startups, but also some of the corporates that will be hanging around in the international zone. So I think we've got something for everyone that's in financial services.
That's what I was about to say, something for everyone there. Um, really looking forward to hearing more about those. There's going to be so much content from it coming from those. And there's a real practical element to the festival, which is fantastic, which leads me into sort of my final question, which is the call to action. What's the call to action to those attendees and delegates in the lead up to the event, during, and even post-event as well? What's your advice?
So I think it's just about getting involved because if you're in financial services and you're not at the festival, you really need to be asking yourself the question, why am I not there? And it's not a question of can I afford to go? It's more a question of can you afford not to go? Because the festival is quite a unique experience. Outside of all of the networking opportunities and the content, Elevandi is a non-profit, so we are not looking to make money from the festival. It's all about how do we take some of the key outcomes from how do we regulate certain kind of technologies, how do we move forward in certain areas, and we take those kind of outcomes and we move that across to the following calendar year. And it's a continuous dialogue about some of the challenges, but also the opportunities that the world is facing. So it's a great place to come to learn, do business, but importantly, be part of a dialogue that will set you up for 2024 and beyond.
Be a lot of pearls of wisdom shared at the event, I'm sure. Pat, we're really looking forward to the event. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and getting us excited, and look forward to talking further down the line. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.